All set? Okay. Good evening. Welcome to the September 11th Clifton Park Town Board meeting. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Teresa, if you call the roll.
Councilman Morelli?
Here.
Councilwoman Reed? Here. Councilman O'Hara?
Here.
Councilwoman Wallowwood? Here. Supervisor Barrett?
Here. Entertain a motion to approve Town Board meeting minutes of August 21st.
So moved.
Discussion? Teresa?
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Reed?
Yes.
Councilman O'Hara?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowwood? Yes. Supervisor Barrett?
Yes. It's obviously on 9/11, a very solemn day, and I was watching some shows with a retrospective on 9/11 and a lot of the people that experienced what occurred that day, firefighters and EMS personnel, people that worked at one of the towers, and just people, bystanders that became involved in what was going on. And each year, as we watch these retrospectives, I think it's a great reminder. We had a wonderful event this morning. First thing this morning, there was a large contingent of golfers at the Manhattan Golf Course. It's a fundraiser for area veterans. And although a solemn day, it's also a sign of hope when you see so many people come together to support those who have served our country and protected our freedoms. And I want to thank Councilman Chris O'Hara was there and had some very nice words at the event. And the Malta Veterans Appreciation Organization just did a wonderful job putting the whole event together. So I'm sure they must have raised a fair amount of money based on the number of golfers. So Clifton Park VFW, they were there in force as always to support these events. So I want to thank them. They were part of the opening ceremonies. It's just another day that we can't forget what has occurred. And although the years go by and maybe we need a little more reminder about some of the details that happened and what people went through, it's important that we continually remember, never forget what happened on 9/11/2001. Does anybody have any communications and announcements at this time? Okay. All right. We do have. Speaking of hope, we've got two young men here who are doing some fun and innovative things in their own way. First, I'd like to ask Wyatt to come on up. Wyatt has a project that he's working on very diligently, and he's going to introduce himself, introduce his parents. His dad is going to open his display here. This project is something Wyatt has been working directly with our senior center staff on, and it'll be a nice addition to the senior center. So Wyatt, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you're planning to do here.
All right, thank you. So good evening. My name is Wyatt Rueda. I'm a Life Scout Troop 4045 in Clifton Park. Tonight I'm here to share my plans for the indoor bocce ball court at the Clifton Park Senior Center that I will build, and seek your approval for building. So the actual court will be a 40 feet long by 10 foot wide court with carpet and padding in the middle. And then for storage, it will collapse against the wall, so that way they can still use the space. On top of that, we'll also have a wooden scoreboard that will be mounted to the wall so they can keep track of their score. And then a nice cabinet will be built to hold the bocce balls on the wall so they don't have to worry about those. So we'll have the carpeting and then the padding, which I have here. that will be laid down and then just be either rolled up or left out depending on what they want to do during time. There'll be cardboard tubes that they can roll up the carpet around, so it'll just roll right up and sit against the wall. You won't have to worry about moving heavy carpet rolls or anything. And then it will have carpet sliders underneath, so it will slide right up against the wall and not scratch up the nice laminate floor.
Well, we appreciate that.
I knew it was replaced not today, so I didn't want to mess with it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So so this is your Eagle project?
Yes.
Yes. Now you're on the younger side for an Eagle. I mean, we have a lot of Eagles come through, but you're on the younger side. How old are you?
I'm 14.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah, to be on the cusp of Eagle at such a young age is very impressive. Just to be an Eagle Scout and attain that rank is truly amazing. So, so are you making this from scratch?
Yes, I have.
So this isn't like you're not buying an indoor bocce court in a box with instructions and piecing it together. I mean, this is from scratch.
Yeah, everything even down to the cabinet will be built from scratch.
Wow, that's fantastic. Well, we have a huge bocce contingent at the senior center, and the weather will turn soon,
Yes.
and they'll be forced indoors. This will give them a wonderful outlet. I know, Sue, you're very familiar with what Wyatt's been working on here. Appreciate you working with him on this. So, what is your impressions of the proposed project?
Well, Wyatt has been working very hard. He's been asking a lot of questions of a lot of people, which I so appreciate. It's all coming from him, not his parents, which I appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
I've been involved with scouting for years, and I'm very impressed with the young man and what he's going to come up with. But he's asked questions of everybody, because you can't know everything. But for a young person like this, and he's very well spoken, and I think he's going to do a fabulous job. So we're excited. We're really excited.
Well, he can't drive himself to these meetings, so I mean, his parents have to come with him, right? So what else can you tell us about the project? Is there anything else of specific details that would help us kind of picture what you're doing here?
Yeah. So.
Why don't you move up a little bit to the right?
So yeah. So the cabinet doors will actually be engraved.
Yeah.
So they'll have, of course, the Boy Scout logo, my name, and then on the other door, they'll have all the donators who have donated to my project. And then on the actual scoreboard, it will have the Clifton Park seniors across the top engraved into it.
Oh, nice. Wow. Now, have you applied to the Community Action Fund?
I have not.
Well, you might want to think about that.
Yeah, I was waiting a little bit because I have my pancake breakfast coming up on
Yes.
September 24th. So I was waiting to see how much funds that brought in before I applied for the grant.
All right, well, you have till the end of the month. So,
Right. Yep.
Yeah, and it's a very short application,
Mhm.
very easy. So, gee, that's great. I can't thank you enough for this. This was one of the priorities of seniors, right? I mean, it was one of the top 5.
Yes, they've been asking for it, so
Yeah.
they're very excited about it. One of our seniors is here today. And he was helpful also in giving Wyatt some thoughts and suggestions as well. So
Good.
Dr. Hyde is here.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Well, Wyatt, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't move forward with this project. This is fantastic. And we look forward to supporting your pancake breakfast that's coming up at the Senior Center, right?
Yep.
And I'm sure you'll have a large turnout.
I hope so.
And why don't you give us the details on that event?
So yeah, it will be 9 to noon on Sunday, September 24th at the Clifton Park Senior Center.
Great.
It will be all you can eat. It will be
Within reason.
yes. It's all you can eat. So for seniors it'll be $10. For adults it'll be $12, and then for kids under 12 it will be $8. And then it will be all you can eat. There'll be pancakes, sausage, and eggs, and then coffee, juices, and then you'll have a choice between on your pancakes, syrup, powdered sugar, fruit, or butter.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fancy. Very nice.
And then there will be a small bake sale at the door as well to raise some extra funds.
Fantastic. Well, seems like your project is very well thought out. You've done a lot of hard work already just to get to this point. What's your timing on finishing the project?
Most likely I'll be done by the middle of November.
Oh, good. Oh, that's good time.
Mhm.
Fantastic.
Right, I was hoping right before the weather turns, so then that way there's no waiting time, they can just go right inside and play.
Well, they're a hardy group, so you know, they'll probably go right through the end of the year. So as long as you're done by then, it'll be
Yeah.
fine. So.
Then at least then they don't have to go outside and cold.
Yeah, right. At least they have a choice, right?
Yeah.
They have options. Well, thanks, Wyatt. Really appreciate it, and thank you so much. Thank you, Dad. Doing a very good job there, and I know your parents are your biggest supporters, right? What do you want to say to Mom and Dad?
Thank you so much for all the help.
All right.
Just a quick question. Once you achieve Eagle Scout, you have a few years, what's next? Is there another level, or will you be like a mentor for other Eagles coming up? Or
Yeah, most likely in our troop, it's kind of you just become like a mentor, and then you help out all the other scouts. You can take up leadership positions, and it's kind of at that point you've reached what you can reach as Boy Scouts. So now you kind of come back and start helping all the other scouts get what they need.
and I think to the supervisor's point, you being on the younger age spectrum for an Eagle is going to be a huge benefit to the troop and to the town. So we have a lot of Eagles coming through. So having you around for a few more years before college to mentor those coming through, I think is going to be huge. I appreciate all you're doing.
Thank you.
Great job, Wyatt.
Congratulations.
Look forward to working with you.
I'm looking forward to your Eagle Scout ceremony.
Yeah, won't be long. Very good. So, as you can see, Wyatt is a very driven, focused young man, and has put together a very aggressive plan. But based on everything he's done so far, right, I think it's going to be executed the right way and will be successful. And a great addition to the senior center. So, thank you. All right. So we have another young man in the audience here. So we've had this neat little different thing. We'll try to come up with cool little things for kids and families here and there. And a new one this year was finding Bigfoot. So we have a very large cutout of Bigfoot. We would secretly put it in different parks throughout the summer. And if you were to find Bigfoot, take a picture with him and send it in, you received a free ice cream. So we had a whole bunch of people find Bigfoot this year. How'd we end up, Mike?
We had 10 people a week. So we had 1,000 people, 100 people find our Bigfoot.
Wow.
Pretty good. And it was usually by Saturday morning we had all 10. So most people got out there right at 12 o'clock on Friday when they announced the clue where Bigfoot may be.
Right. And the clues didn't give away much.
No, they had to do a little work to get there.
Yeah. So that was good. We made it tough. So how did we come to the top 3 prize winners?
I had a random drawing of the 1,000 people.
The top winners, and Evan found them 8 times. So
Wow.
he was one of our best.
Apparently. I think it's the cleats. And he has a really cool shirt on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll have him come up and he can show off his shirt, but it's a really cool shirt. And I asked him where he got it. He said his mom bought it for him. So maybe she can tell us where she got it, because others may want to buy that shirt as well. So what do you think, Evan? You want to come up and get your prize? All right. So Mrs. O'Hara, Reed, excuse me, and who's liaison to Parks and Rec, and Mike Warner. You go right up to the middle there, son.
What's your last name, Evan? What's Andy? Say it again. It's a great shirt. Thank you.
Look this way. So he's got his shirt has a big picture of Sasquatch, and on the side it says "Believe in yourself even when no one else will." Sasquatch. So that is a cool quote. Wow, look at that. We don't have any cool quotes on it, but it's nice.
Everything will get me good.
All right.
Nice.
So congratulations, Evan. Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Take care, buddy.
Thank you.
All right, so what's up next for the Bigfoot program, Mike?
I think starting December, we have a Yeti, so we have to find a Yeti when it gets colder.
Yeah. Are we gonna give out ice cream?
Hot chocolate.
Hot chocolate, well,
Hot chocolate,
yeah, it's more apropos, considering it's winter time. Well, that'll be fun. So it's same size, very large, it's just snow colored.
Yep.
Yeah.
They make it a little more difficult this time.
Yeah, it'll fit right in with the snow if we get any. Hopefully not too much.
Only
All
on the
right.
weekends.
Yeah, right. All right, so if you didn't win this time, you'll have plenty of chances as the winter rolls out. All right, so we have a few resolutions for consideration tonight. Teresa, if you would read through those, please.
A resolution adopting a local law amending chapter 152 of the town code to prohibit the possession or carrying of firearms, shotguns, and bows within the Bishop Perry Nature and Historic Preserve, except for the person's license to carry concealed weapons pursuant to state or federal statute. Whereas the Bishop Perry Nature and Historic Preserve was established in 1977 after the town petitioned for and received permits for the use and occupancy of the New York State Canal Corporation lands for nature preserve purposes. And whereas by resolution number 280 of 2021, the town accepted the updated use and occupancy permit COC 202100217 from the New York State Canals Corporation, and whereas town code has prohibited the use or discharge of firearms within the preserve since the issuance of the first such permit in 1977, and whereas the town has since completed numerous projects to improve pedestrian and bicycle access to the preserve to Foots Dry Dock and a new Whipple Bridge, extensive trail systems, as well as picnic areas along the Mohawk River and Preserve has experienced an increase in use and enjoyment by hikers, joggers, walkers, and related forms of passive and active recreation. And whereas these improvements result in usage of the permitted premises within the preserve by the public for parks and recreation purposes. And whereas the town board finds and determines that the carrying of rifles, shotguns, bows, and related firearms within the preserve, except during days designated by the state of New York each year as the first 7 days of duck hunting season, to hunt or otherwise use the discharge of such weapons on lands or waterways adjacent to and within the preserve are inconsistent with the use of the preserve by the general public for park and preserve purposes. And whereas the legislation contains exceptions to the
Prohibition.
Thank you.
I get that one all the time.
Against the possession of firearms in the preserve for persons who are licensed to carry concealed weapons pursuant to New York State Penal Law 440.2 and analogous federal statutes, as well as for law enforcement, retired law enforcement, and peace officers licensed to carry out handguns. And whereas municipal law, Home Rule Law number Chapter 10, provides authority to towns to enact local laws to protect the physical environment as well as the health, safety, and well-being of persons within the town. Now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to Municipal Home Rule Law Chapter 10, the town board hereby adopts local law number 6 of 2023, a local law amending Chapter 152 of the town code as attached. And be it further resolved that the town board designate the Bishop Perry Nature and Historic Preserve as defined by Chapter 152 of the town code and as used and occupied consistent with Canals Court permit as a sensitive area pursuant to Penal Law 265-01E2D, subject to the exception contained in Chapter 152 2D for permitted waterfowl hunting during 7 calendar days for duck hunting season as established by the state of New York. And be it further resolved that the town clerk file said local law with the New York State Department of State as required by law, and be it further resolved that this local law shall take effect immediately upon its adoption. A resolution adopting a local law establishing Chapter 129 of the Town Code relative to the regulation of daily and weekly hotel stays consistent with site plan approvals. Whereas the town's location in southern Saratoga County has enabled the hospitality industry to grow and expand the number of hotel facilities and hotel rooms within the town. And whereas site plan approvals for each of the existing hotels and motels within the town, as well as their zoning approvals and interpretations are based on the definitions of hotels as guest units rented to the general public on a daily or weekly basis, distinguished from boarding houses or dwelling units. And whereas on September 5th, 2023, the town board held a public hearing on a proposal to enact a chapter of the town code to provide regulations to quantify the maximum extent of such daily or weekly stays at 28 days, and to provide for the enforcement of that standard consistent with the existing site plan and zoning approvals. And whereas the legislation contains exceptions for extended stay hotel operations approved for kitchenette equipment. And whereas Municipal Home Rule Law, Chapter 10 provides authority to towns to enact local laws to protect the physical environment as well as the health, safety, and well-being of persons within the town. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board finds and determines that the enforcement of existing concepts of hotels and motels within the town is consistent with the protection, order, conduct, safety, health, and well-being of persons or property within the hotel and motel facilities within the town. And be it further resolved that pursuant to Municipal Home Rule Law, Chapter 10, the town board hereby adopts local law number 7 of 2023, a local law establishing Chapter 129 of the Town Code for the regulation of hotel and motel facilities approved within the town. To be it further resolved that the town clerk file said local law with the New York State Department of State as required by law, and be it further resolved that this local law shall take effect immediately upon its adoption. A resolution authorizing alcoholic beverages to be served at a gathering to be held at the Clifton Park Senior Community Center on October 21st, 2023. Whereas the Poking Brook dance team was hosting a banquet event on Saturday, October 21st, 2023, and whereas a request has been received from Larry Seisdick, a representative for the Poking Brook dance team, for permission to serve alcohol in the form of beer and or wine at the event. Now therefore be it resolved that Larry Seisdick and the Poking Brook dance team are hereby authorized to serve beer and or wine at a gathering at the Clifton Park Senior Community Center on October 21st, 2023 from 5 to 9 p.m. consistent with the terms of the permit application received in the office of the Clifton Park Senior Community Center. A resolution accepting a proposal for the rental of 3 tents to be used on Household Hazardous Waste Day. Whereas proposals have been received for the rental of tents to be used on Household Hazardous Waste Day, September 23rd, 2023, and whereas after reviewing the proposals received, Stormwater Management Officer Scott Reese has recommended that the low proposal of Whalen Tents Incorporated for an amount of $2,569 for the rental of 3 tents be accepted. Now therefore be it resolved that the proposal of Whalen Tents Incorporated, 5 North Street, Troy, New York, is hereby accepted for an amount not to exceed $2,569 for the rental of 3 tents to be used on Household Hazardous Waste Day, to be paid from General Fund Special Collection Day.
Okay, very good. Any questions on the resolutions? Okay. Teresa, if you read the headings and we'll consider each resolution individually.
Resolution number 209 of 2023, a resolution adopting local law number 6, a local law amending Chapter 152 of the Town Code to prohibit possession or carrying of firearms, shotguns, and bows within the Bishop Area Nature and Historic Preserve, except for the persons licensed to carry concealed weapons pursuant to state or federal statute.
So moved. Second.
All right, so last week we had 3 public hearings. We had public hearing on this matter. We had a number of speakers, and I think we had a very good, engaging discussion. I personally don't have any more to say on this matter, but if there's any other discussion at this time.
Sure, I have a few things
Oh, okay, sure.
go through. So just reflecting on the public hearing, which was well attended on all 3 topics. I think probably the first question is why we bring this forward. One of the residents asked that, and it's frankly for me, we have an enforcement problem at the preserve. We have not allowed hunting, I believe, Tom, since 1977.
Yes.
Which is well before my time and anyone on this board. However, since I've been on this board, which is going on 3 years, I've consistently become aware of violations of that prohibition for hunting. I've had those brought to my attention from residents. I've had those brought to my attention also from law enforcement, and I believe it's incumbent on this board to enforce the laws and the code that we have in place. This resolution, I think what's key, and I believe our residents understood this, as we discussed at the public hearing last week, it doesn't expand hunting, but it doesn't limit what's already permissible by law. It just, the intent is to enforce, again, what is already there. As we've discussed, and I've talked to town attorney quite a few times on this. I know you've spoken on the record. This has been vetted with the DEC and with the Canal Corporation. We've discussed that it does not conflict with any federal or state statutes. And frankly, as I sat back as part of the public hearing, there's good arguments on both sides of this equation. On one side, the right to hunt a certain parcel of land, certainly Second Amendment protections. Those are good arguments. As Supervisor spoke of last week, 3 of us on this board have served in the military. We're familiar with firearms safety. I'm a hunter. I'm not here, not in town, but I understand those arguments and they have merit. On the other side, we have an overwhelming plethora of residents who come out throughout the hunting season and communicate to this board about wanting the current prohibition against hunting to be enforced. And this is an avenue for us to be able to enforce that. But most importantly, we have a public hearing for a reason. It's for me and for my colleagues to hear from the public, but not just the public, the residents of Clifton Park. That's who I work for. That's who put me here, and that's who I answer to. There were, during that public hearing and throughout the week since we announced the public hearing would be on the agenda, I've heard from several residents about why they believe these amendments are appropriate. And last week I heard from 4 individuals who were against this amendment. None of those individuals were from the town of Clifton Park. 1 was from Malta, 2 were from Half Moon, 1 was from Saratoga Springs. I respect their opinions, but that's not who I work for. That's not who I answer to, and that's not how I'll vote.
Thank you, and you brought up a lot of good points. One point you brought up was a point that I made last week during the hearing on a couple of occasions, and that is that this what we're considering does not limit or expand hunting within the preserve. Now, as far as the town's involvement with the hunting that goes on in the preserve, that began in 1977. It was 2 weeks, 2 weeks for hunting at that time. It was changed to a week in the 90s. So that has been the town's involvement over the decades. Anyone else? Yes.
You bring up a lot of good points. You bring up the Second Amendment, of which I'm an ardent supporter. I wouldn't want to vote for anything that I feel like is a violation of our Bill of Rights. However, from researching this, it just looks like we're updating our town code to be consistent with current New York State Canal Corporation laws. Law number 150.6, prohibited activities carrying of firearms, is already against the law for the Canal Corporation. So it just seems like we're making the town code more consistent with existing laws.
And as you said, we owe it to our residents to listen to them. I wasn't able to be here for that public hearing, but I did watch the entire thing. And I spoke to many people who feel very strongly about this subject. I have some neighbors who tell me they don't feel safe. So I think this is a step forward just to show that we're taking their issues seriously and doing what we can do to promote a safe community.
Very good. And yeah, we were sure to make sure that we were carving out provisions for folks that are carry conceal and the other levels of jurisdiction and licensees as stated in the law. Anyone else? Okay, Teresa?
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Reed?
Yes.
Councilman O'Hara?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowitz? Yes. Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 210 of 2023, a resolution adopting local law number 7, establishing chapter 129 of the town code relative to the regulation of daily and weekly hotel stays consistent with site plan approvals. So moved.
Second.
All right, we had a public hearing on this last week as well, and we did have again very good discussion and engaged with Clifton Park residents, inquiring about what we were considering as far as limitations on the length of stay of individuals with hotels and motels. I gave some examples of other organizations that also limit the stays that one can engage in. And also we discussed the fact that there are many of municipalities that have a similar limitation within their code. And I think this is just something we should have in our code for the long term. We have a fair number of hotel rooms in the town now. And this is just good, sound, common sense legislation. Anyone else?
Yeah, I mean, I would start off by commenting to answer the same question we were asked last week. Why are we doing this? And for me, I think the answer is it's about us being proactive as a town. I think what we went through last week is really, this is similar to the last resolution, updating the code to reflect what we've already put in place through site plan approvals and through zoning approvals. What I think, Tom, what I think you alluded to last week is that there is a mechanism where we can enforce through violation of the site plan approval, which would require someone to come back before the planning board, and it's just not a streamlined process. It's not something the planning board often gets involved in, and I'm not sure it has the kind of teeth or enforcement ability as having in our town code would. But it is really just aligning our code with what our zoning board and our planning board have already put in place as restrictions on hotels in this town through their approval process. So for that reason, I do believe this amendment is appropriate. I think, as the supervisor said, I think it's common sense legislation. I think it's us being proactive instead of reactive to any sort of potential enforcement issues down the road.
Yeah, and it's a great point to bring up the parallel between this and site plans as approved by our planning board. Anyone else on this subject? Okay, Teresa?
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Reed?
Yes.
Councilman O'Hara?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 211 of 2023, a resolution authorizing alcoholic beverages to be served at a gathering to be held at the Clifton Park Senior Community Center on October 21st, 2023. So
Second.
All right, Sue, the Bokingbrook Dance Club.
Yes, hi. Yeah, this is a group that rented the facility last year. They were fine, everything went well. They had an alcohol permit then as well. And it's just an award ceremony kind of thing that they're doing, and, it's a nice group. And I guess they're gonna be performing at the, this upcoming weekend too, with the Clifton Park, I don't know where exactly they're gonna be.
Yeah.
I don't know where they're gonna be, but they said they're gonna be doing something there, so they perform all over the place.
Yeah, well, that's great. Any questions for Sue? Okay, Teresa?
Councilman Morale?
Yes.
Councilwoman Reed?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Hara?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallwood? Yes. Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 212 of 2023, a resolution accepting a proposal for the rental of 3 tents to be used on Household Hazardous Waste Day.
All right, so these are the winning quote for the tents for Household Hazardous Waste Day. As it mentioned, September 23rd. You can sign up online or in person here at Town Hall. And all the information is online on the website as far as what we can accept and what we can't. But it's a great opportunity to clean out some of those materials or solvents and other stuff in your garage or your shed that you're not sure what you should do with. Chances are we can take them free of charge, and they'll be handled and disposed of in a professional manner. Any discussion? Okay, Teresa?
Councilman Morale?
Yes.
Councilwoman Reed?
Yes.
Councilman O'Hara?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallwood? Yes. Supervisor Barrett?
Yes, any other business to come before the board this evening? Okay, we'll go to public privilege. If you'd like to speak on a town matter, please raise your hand. We'll ask that you come forward, state your name and address for the record, and please keep it to 5 minutes or less. Anybody like to speak tonight? Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Councilman Morale?
Yes.
Councilwoman Reed?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Hara?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallwood? Yes. Supervisor Barrett?
Yes, thank you.
Hey, how you doing? Oh, really?
Sure, how are you?
Good.